negotiate.
Okay. So after we looked at your terms, we are asking for a 10% option pool and having Taylor have voting rights.
Oh.
Excuse me?
Well, the problem with the 10% voting pool is there'll basically be no pool in the end because 10%.
You're asking a lot.
It's a 10% option pool.
Yeah, let's see. Well, the problem with that is for us is that I'm gonna do the math real quick. 60,000. So yeah. 60,000.
We wouldn't. Nope, not gonna work. They pay me the big bucks for this, okay?
So the problem with doing that is that after we invest, because the option pool you're creating is before our investments, our investment will dilute it, and after we invest the $3 million, the option pool will only be 6%, which is definitely less than 10% and less than the average for a new company is 10 to 20% after investment. And then companies that need to hire a lot more management, which is MuMate in this case, they should have even higher than 20% on average, which is why we went for 30%. Because we do 30%, then it ends up being 20%, which is the high end of the average, but low end of the average for companies that need more management team.
Well, you can counter.
What? That's our
offer.
Yeah, you can't. I'm just like.
Okay, 12.
Well, I can think of like what would be a. Let's see. What's this? I have to look at my calculator.
Yeah, I think that's too. For us, that's a little too low. It doesn't leave us any wiggle room. Did you hear that, Joseph? You're fired.
How can you find someone that owns almost all the equity? You're not even.
True.
Yeah, you better watch it. You're fired.
We're negotiating the option pool amount right now.
What did we choose for option pool?
We're trying to negotiate right now.
I countered 10, Joseph.
Yeah, that's what we had decided was 10.
Yeah, and so they're trying to figure out a counter offer to that.
The problem with that for us was telling like Michaela was because the reading that we got gave like information on like averages on that, and so like it said that the average option pool after evaluation, and this one we're doing now is pre-investment valuation, pre-money, I guess. But the average for a new company for after post-money valuation is 10 to 20%. But for companies like MuMate that they need to hire more management, it's usually even higher than 10%. So when we did 30% then post-money, they'll turn into 20%.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did that way. We're trying to like do more numbers right here. Let's see. What's good?
Can we even go down?
Not very well.
Because I feel like at that point, according to our other numbers, I don't think it works out.
Yeah, I don't know if we can go much lower than that because we already kind of lowballed it. Let's see, what about doing how about 28%? That'll give us 18% afterwards.
28. What do you think, 28%. Joseph?
I'm texting you real quick.
Oh, okay.
Trying to strategize without.
Keaton, I'm gonna text you too.
Let's see, because if we do 28%, it'll be 18%, which is still, I think, super low. But we're willing to counter with that.
Okay, so what if Because here's the thing, like we really, like we know the industry average is between 10 to 20%, and we kind of wanted to keep it on the lower end. What we kind of maybe thought is, would you guys be interested in making, like maybe taking a bigger cut of equity? So what we would do is we would give you 35% equity, and our option pool would be at 15%. But on top of that, we also want Taylor to have voting rights for the board of directors. And we would increase our option pool from 10%, and we would give you guys an extra 5% equity in their company.
Pretty good offer.
How considerate. I'm pretty sure Taylor's the one that we decided that we didn't want to have any voting rights. Yeah, we took Taylor's away.
The problem now, I feel like, 'cause I like the option pool terms there, but the problem with having Taylor on the board is it makes it an even number board for one odd number. If you bring Taylor, I want to bring on one more independent as well. So if have 5 at that point, because we can't just have 4. And then also the problem is Taylor, even though she's a founder, she's also submitted to Maxwell in the company on a day-to-day basis because Maxwell's CEO, so she's still in charge. From our reading, we had it causes company problems whenever the 2 founders are equals on the board, but not equals in the workplace, in the company on the day-to-day basis. And so by keeping her not voting on the board, but just letting her be an observer, it kind of makes that hierarchy, kind of uniform throughout the whole thing for the 2 of them.
Yeah, but here's our thing is us as Maxwell, we're okay with stepping down from our board of director position. We're okay with giving that position up to a future CEO because we want to be there for the short term, but in the long term perspective, Maxwell, it really doesn't matter what we, what we really decide. I mean, Maxwell would kind of be okay with stepping down from that CEO position. At least that's what we kind of.
Wait, so you want to put Taylor CEO instead of Maxwell?
No, not Taylor as CEO.
That we thought, because I think from our assumptions was that you were going to replace the CEO because it didn't say who the CEO was. And so we are okay with you replacing the CEO, but we wanted one founder to have voting rights.
No, we didn't want to. We said CEO on the term sheet because we thought just it would be official, be if you ever change CEOs, they would still have rights to be on the board. We're planning on changing Maxwell, unless y'all want us to. So what if we leave Maxwell alone and let Taylor observe? If we don't kick Maxwell out.
Ooh, that's cold.
Oh,
man. So text each other.
Text each other. We'll give Maxwell immunity. Taylor, observation rights.
Yeah, but the whole thing is also that this business, even though Maxwell's a co-founder, let's just be honest, she's not the founder. You know what I mean? Taylor's the founder, and she has her own vision and her own mission for the company. And what she basically did was went to Maxwell, and Maxwell basically put that out into a business aspect. She took what she wanted and made it the mission of MuMate, So, I mean, for us, it's I don't know, that's the whole thing. It's, I don't know. What do you think, Michaela?
I think, personally, we should let Maxwell step down because she doesn't care, but she wants Taylor to stay on the board. So if you take your seat, put in a new CEO, you leave Taylor there and give her voting rights.
What if we did this way? What if we did, instead we leave both Maxwell and Taylor both on the board, but we get to appoint 2 people from our place to be the board as well as the independent, or then we agree on the independent.
Equality, I like it.
The 2 from.
But I mean, you would still have the potential of a tie. Wasn't that one of the reasons you said you didn't want to do 4 people is because there could be a tie?
I said we feel like you keep your 2, right? So Maxwell and Taylor, and we get to put our guy Rodriguez on as well as one more person, and then y'all pick an independent person to be on the board as well. That makes 5.
Oh, 5. Okay, so.
So the independent will still be there. Just 2 from us, 2 from you, and an independent versus 1 from us and 1 from you and an independent.
Okay, and then I want to make sure Taylor has voting rights, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So it'd be like basically we have 2 people from us with voting rights, 2 people from you with voting rights, and 1
And then an
independent. with voting.
independent.
Yeah.
I think that's
What do you
fair.
think? Yeah, I like it.
Hey. Are we done negotiating?
I think that we are.
Oh, good job, guys. You just signed a
Now we
motion?
have to discuss our negotiation.
Nah.
No,
Oh,
no.
we do?
Yeah, we have to discuss it. That's why I had to be so short. There's a lot of discussion negotiation.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay, so review the summary data from negotiation. Which team had the highest pre-money value? Did y'all have a pre-money value?
We came up with one, yes. Ours was 6.
That was ours too. So
Yeah, so we didn't.
we did the exact same. We are good at this. Teams that showed extremes. Okay, so I guess we go step. I'm not sure what part of step 3 meant, but step 4 says choose a student from our side that we ask what were your goals for this negotiation. So choose one of us and y'all can ask us that question. Actually, since Kinsey, you have to leave soon, you want to answer that question?
Yes, question number 4.
The DPV side, just kind of go through those little things.
Yes. So, sorry, one of my roommates is watching Netflix, so my internet is going to go in and out. Choose a student from my side and ask what are your goals for the negotiation. Okay, so the valuation of X. Well, in the case.
Oh, we lost her.
Hello?
Okay, there you go. Now you're back.
Okay. Did you hear anything that I just said?
Nope.
Okay. Well, for one thing, just to start with the board seat, I feel like that was one of the most important things to us because we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to have a equal split. And so that's why originally we didn't want to let Taylor have any voting rights, and we didn't want to have 4 people involved because it would make it uneven. But I think that if we still had an independent and we allowed her rights, and like if we had 5 like what we solved, I think that would help let things vary out. Because without that, I just don't feel like during board meetings, if there was ever like a disagreement or something, that anything would ever be resolved because it would be so two-sided, like you versus us, instead of us coming together to collaborate as a team. And so that was the most important thing to me. Because without that, like without at least being on the same page with our board seats, then the rest of it's just kind of downhill. But as for the valuation of X and the IRR of Y,
Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Kinsey's just going in and out. See, that was kind of what the board. See, I'm not sure what the IRR of Y means. That doesn't make sense to me. Valuation of X. The valuation worked out well for us. That was kind of our target goal, is to have it 30% equity with a less than $10 million valuation. And according to the numbers, as long as we did that, we would come out profitable with our target rate of return. So I guess that kind of ties into the internal rate of return for part 2. As long as we had 30% minimum and less than $10 million, it would work. How important is this deal to us? It's more of a pretty good deal, not like a once in a lifetime. I mean, it could be. Any deal could become a once in a lifetime, but it's definitely not sitting at that right now for us. It's kind of like they're the guy who found it. It's part of DPV, whatever his name was. They're kind of proving him with it. They're letting him run the show and everything to see if he's really as good of a person, like potential partner, as I think he is. And so kind of testing them out with this one. So it's more of a pretty good, fits their everything they want, but fits their investment focus, fits their goals, and it serves as a really good opportunity to test that guy. So for that reason, it's pretty good, and yes, it fits the investment focus. But then one of you two gets to answer the question of 5. What was most important for you guys? Which one of y'all wants to do that?
I think it kind of depends on who you ask, because I know that Michaela, she was, we kind of thought that obviously the mission was really important, keeping that mission and vision alive. But at the same time, I kind of had a lot of reserves. We had a venture capital company that wanted to be basically free of any dilution, and for us, like, those are two things, like probably the two most important things that we were looking for in our deal is we didn't want someone to be immune to dilution. So as we start giving out more equity, they're going to keep a huge chunk, and then ours is just going to decrease and decrease until eventually they own the company or they own the majority of it. And like I said, too, obviously keeping the mission, which is why we kind of fought for Taylor's spot on the board of directors, because, it was her that founded it, and she had this mission and this dream, and those were our main things that we were looking to get out of the negotiation, is get her voting rights, and then just make sure that there was no dilution in our equity.
You have the question, Joseph.
What's that?
You have the computer with the questions or not? I can read them to
No,
you.
I don't have them in front of me. I'm on my phone.
All right, this question has like certain things just to listen in order of importance. Not just like we all views importance. Like, so wants to know like, what was most important for you between deal term, pre-money value, board composition, option pool, and differing priorities, I guess. So differing priorities would kind of fit what you were just saying. You have the other things.
I think as far as the most important, I think, like he was saying, the deal terms and the board composition kind of went hand in hand because we were worried about mission. And so having a fair board, but that also included one of the founders because we wanted them to be able to maintain the mission, was important. That was kind of a part of the deal terms for us. And yeah, so I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand with our deal terms.
Board and option pool, I'm guessing.
The option pool and the pre-money value. So the pre-money value, we kind of tried to figure out. That wasn't as important for us as much as having the mission, based on what the case kind of indicated. Yeah, they were concerned about it, but they weren't super concerned about owning majority. And so having a pre-money value were high enough to make them own majority wasn't as important because their main focus was making sure the company was able to maintain its mission. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't as. So those two aren't as important, like we talked about.
Okay. So who do you guys think had the upper hand? Page or MuMate?
What was the? I'm looking. So I pulled it up on my phone. Okay. What question are we on?
Number 5. The very last.
5. So I think MuMate, however you say their name, has a little bit of an upper hand just because they don't have to accept any, because they can go somewhere else if they feel like they're not getting what they want, because they don't have to work with a VC firm if they don't want to.
I think it's like,
so I feel like
funding, because they have to if they want to grow, the offers that were offered, they have to have the funding to grow. So where else will they get it?
Yeah. But there are other VC firms out there, and so if this didn't work out, they can always go look for other
I
ones
view this like
too.
if they had another option, which from like the past cases we read, we already learned how hard it can be to get a VC firm deal. So they had another company, a VC firm that was interested, but they would definitely get a more of upper hand. But without that extra company that they're sure they can get, I actually think like the 2K 2PV has a little more upper hand. It's like that kind of might be kind of hard to raise that much debt, and also they don't raise that much debt, then they have to be making payments, so it wouldn't be as good. So they really need the equity funding from somebody. But they really don't need very much though. At the same time, they only need like the short term, like $1.5 million or something like that. Let's go to question 6 then. I don't know what Astoria and Prosper are, so that's up to you guys, I guess. That's something we all read.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah, question 6.
6?
Yeah.
So, we had the term sheets, we had a supplement reading, and we had other offers from other VC firms.
Oh, okay, awesome.
That's what it's talking about, Astoria and Prosper term sheets. And so we kind of looked at their valuations and kind of did a middle, the average, I think, because I think that's how we got to it. I think because Joseph figured it out, because at first we were going to do a lower valuation, but then looking at it, we decided we wanted something higher. So I think Joseph averaged it and it gave us 6 million. Is that right?
Yeah.
Joseph? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we kind of compared them and tried to figure out, based on what they were offering, what we would want to have from you.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gave us more of a edge because we were able to see what was offered out there and what we wanted, and to see how we can get it, you know. But so the Astoria gave us a higher valuation of, didn't they give us 7 million? I think 7.5 million valuation, and they would invest the 2.5. So the pro of that is that they wouldn't have taken so much of our equity, and we would have gotten the 2.5 we want. But Astoria also wanted to have a larger option pool of 17.5, and I talked about how they wanted to do it in 2 sets of funding. So they would do a first funding of 1.25, and then we were required to reach 10 million revenue over 12 months, or revenue of 10 million in positive EBIT over a 12-month period. And if we didn't meet that, then they didn't have to pay the rest that they were going to invest in us. So that's kind of a con.
Yeah, we had that same potential strategy we considered going with, but we didn't choose to do it. It wasn't as profitable for us.
Yeah. For Prosper, they valued us lower, and they took a lot more equity. But and their value pool was lower, but they would give us 3 million, and so they would have a stake of 40%. And so the cons, what would you say the cons of Prosper were, Joseph?
I think it was just a large amount of equity that they wanted, because
Yeah, I think that was probably.
Yeah, because like we were okay with giving up a third of the company in equity, but 40%, we decided that with their option pool, if we did the 40% in the option pool, like out of the gate, our equity as Taylor and I forget the other person's name, starts with an M. Basically, their equity would be lower from the start of that venture capital agreement than the firm, and we didn't like those numbers. So the big thing with Prosper was just, how much equity they wanted and what they valued our company at.
And then for the angels, we didn't think we would be able to raise enough capital with just angel investors. Especially because you don't have a guarantee that you can get that much out of them. It's because you're going to individuals. So we didn't think that route would be very good just because we wouldn't know if we would get enough capital raised. Right, Joseph?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess a pro though with the angels, if we were to decide that route, would be that they would be more involved in not changing the vision, the mission of the company. So, anyways,
Sounds good.
I think 7's for you, Keaton.
7. How did the VC go about valuing MuMate? So, what exit value were we expecting? So, to make it worth our time, we wanted to get where we needed a certain. They wanted an average 25% return. They were expecting to get a 5 to 10 times multiple. So we're looking at about $15 to $30 million. We call it exit value for us. So we're expecting, and we realized that from the exit value, how much money do they need to receive in order to get that investment? So it's more based on like how much revenue. If we want to meet the projection of getting $50 million in revenue in 2015, then it'd be no problem. Because then the acquisition value would be about $70 million, which with our 30%, that would get us what we were looking for. So that's kind of where that came from. So basically, to really reach that target thing, we had to have basically our 30% equity at that point. Since we hit that, there's no problem at all. Let's see, and what share of the equity would that dollar amount equal? Doesn't make sense to me. What share of the equity would that dollar amount equal? We just said 15. I guess that's the 15 to 30 million, somewhere in there. So that's the kind of the number that goes there. So our equity should be worth about 15 to 30 million, depending on how it came out in the end. And that was our goal, and that's what it would hit very likely. And then what other means would the VC use to value the company? I didn't make any spreadsheets really. Let's ask him about that. We mostly used the supplemental reading we had. It had a lot of figures in there that other people had already calculated. So we based it all off of that. They had the 5 to 10 times multiple would equal 15 to 30 million of the $3 million investment. And since they had a projected revenue of 50 million, and then they could be acquired for 1.4 times that revenue. So that would equal 70 million. So if they were acquired for 70 million, let's see what that would equal. 70 times our 30%, then we would get 21 million, which would be right in the middle, basically, of the 15 to 30 million we were looking for. So as long as the projections for revenue played out like they're supposed to or hoping for, the downside of the risk was they have about, according to this reading, they had about a 1 in 4 chance of hitting that revenue. But in that 25% chance they actually do hit it, then we would make a really good return. And even higher than a 25% return. The reason why they wanted to be higher than 25% is because that's the average of their portfolio for this VC firm's 25% return. So in order to have that average, some companies need to have a high return to offset the companies that don't have a very good return. So they're really hoping that MuMate would be one of the ones that have a really good return and bump that average up to 25%. So that's it for that. Let's see. So what are we looking for bargaining tactics? Should MuMate disclose that they have other offers?
I
Kind
think
of.
it depends on the situation.
I feel like they disclosed it. If you could, like, they could bring it out during the negotiations as leverage. Not that they're necessarily required to. I think if they told us beforehand, like we have other offers coming in, we might have been a little more favorable on our terms. But then again, you didn't tell us like you didn't, and in the negotiation you brought it up, it might give you leverage to help us negotiate the numbers back down a little bit.
I think it depends on the situation because, like, I feel like disclosing it could make people. So if you tell them you already have other offers, I don't know how specific they want them to tell. Like, just saying if they have other offers, then that may, like you said, make it more favorable. But if you say like exactly what those offers are, say, oh, hey, they're offering this to us, then, I don't know if that, like beforehand, if that would really, it could help by bringing numbers down, but it could make them, might also turn away people too that are considering looking to work with you if they already know you have other offers that they don't think they can compete with or something. But I think not disclosing it helped us be able to have an idea of, because in this situation, they didn't really know what valuation they wanted to use. Average of the two offers we already had, which has ended up being what you guys valued us at. So that kind of helped us in a way get an idea of where we want to be and based on what we had from other people. So I think it depends.
I think that makes sense to me. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too, because I definitely think that obviously, plus the other thing, I feel like if you try to negotiate before you bring in the whole, like, well, we have other offers. I don't know. We were just kind of getting a feel for what you guys really wanted, like, I don't know. It was interesting because a venture capital firm is kind of like a partner, so it's like, if we want you as a partner, sometimes I think like not disclosing that information, you can kind of get like the real sense of who they are, how they do their business, how they're negotiating. But I think it would be interesting to see, like, when we were negotiating, like, we were willing to give up extra capital, or I'm sorry, not capital. We were willing to give up a little bit extra equity, in exchange for the option pool and for that spot. So, I mean, like, I kind of wonder if before we negotiated extra equity, I wonder if we were like, well, look, we have another offer. They're only taking 25% of our equity, and, I don't know, like, our option pool is, 14%. I'd kind of be interested to see how that conversation might have taken a turn or a change in direction.
Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. I agree with that too. Okay, that says they do hardball tactics makes sense in a negotiation like this. I think they can be advantageous, except for the fact that you go too hard, you just push them away and you lose your deal. So you're really careful when you try to play that.
I think it goes hand in hand with like the disclosure thing because it depends. Because if you have to also think about the personalities we are working with of the negotiators and how they would react, because they could get turned off really easily, or if they are used to doing like hardball negotiation, then it might be something worth doing because they've done it and they're used to it, and it may be advantageous in that sense. But if there are people who aren't willing to do hardball and will be really turned off by it, they could easily leave and not continue with the negotiation process. So.
Thanks, we're all in agreement there. So then discuss key takeaways. So terms allocate economic and control rights. What does that mean?
I think that's talking about like making sure everybody, like how you allocate equities, which in turn would result in the returns they would get, and also like the control of the company as far as equity goes. So like how we talked about, because in our case we didn't really care about the control of having a lot of having equity, having the majority of equity, but we cared about the control as far as the mission goes. And so they didn't really care about as high of a return because they were willing to give up majority of equity, but they care more about making sure their mission of the company is right. So making sure that those things that it's allocating them based on how people, like what people are wanting. Because of course they don't want to give up so much that they weren't going to get what what would be fair to them, but they wanted to make sure that but they didn't care if they had control, like over equity, the majority.
Yeah, that makes more sense then, yeah. So then conflicting priorities of investors and entrepreneurs and upside and downside scenarios. So yeah, it's definitely good because y'all had the priority of like having y'all's vision, maintaining the vision, how y'all want the company to be run. And then as the investors, we're all about profits, and the keeping things efficient, whatnot. So we're thinking of like having Maxwell as the professional stay on the board, Taylor not to be on the board just to keep it more balanced and easier, avoiding potential problems, That's totally disregarding the fact that Taylor has the vision of the company, basically, so she really needs to be there. Maybe she can still give input, to Maxwell off the board, so it doesn't really matter. There's definitely a conflicting priorities there between the two in that way.
Yep.
So I think it's also going along with that terms. The next one's terms have a price. And then, yeah, we had our terms we wanted, but then y'all were able to basically buy y'all's terms from us, by raising the equity.
Mm-hmm.
For us, they definitely have a price. And so if we're willing to negotiate and basically buy rights, you might give you more equity or smaller or greater option pools, wherever it is, you definitely can buy and sell terms.
I think you have to find like because I think it'll balance out to what people are willing to actually have, as long as you're willing to keep negotiation open. Because like with us, since we were willing to give up more equity because we'd rather have the mission because it's more important, it balanced it out so you got the higher returns and more profit. And so it kind of helps keep those priorities, if that's the priority in the case, it helps balance those out so that we could make sure the mission was good and you could get the equity the return you wanted. So
The last one's VC valuation techniques. I'm not really sure what all the techniques are for that. I mean, our case, we had to do a lot too, with like what the amount of revenue you're currently generating is, multiple that revenue was kind of how we did the valuation, as well as like trying to predict the industry's future trends. Kind of combine this together, help the VC firm create the valuation.
yeah,
Do you have any other ideas?
I think the VCs do a lot of, like you said, you did multiples, because I think haven't we had readings before where it talked about doing it based on multiples of an EBITDA and stuff like that, figuring out. And so I think that's basically the main way is based on multiples, which is how you did it.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Comments to add? Pretty good.
No, I'm good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right, good negotiation, guys.
Yeah.
So Joseph, you're gonna do that poll.
Yeah. So you said it's in the email that he sent us with the other poll, right?
It's the last one, I think.
Yeah, I can do
It
it.
says afterwards. It's the yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.